What happens when a teenage boy mocks the woman who sacrificed everything for him right in front of Judge Caprio? 16-year-old Jake Morrison walked into the courtroom that morning like it was his own private stage. Designer hoodie, fresh Jordans. No remorse. He didn't even glance back at the woman behind him, his mother Linda, who sat hunched over in a faded fast food uniform, hands clenched tightly in her lap. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Outside the courtroom, she works 3 jobs to make ends meet: cleaning motels, serving coffee overnight, stocking shelves before dawn. Inside, her only child was ready to throw it all away for a live stream and a joyride in her car. Jake didn't just break the law, he broke something deeper. When asked why he took the car, Jake smirked. "She doesn't care what I do anyway. She's too busy being poor." The room went silent. Even Judge Caprio paused. What unfolded next was not just a legal hearing, it was a moral reckoning. A battle between entitlement and sacrifice. Between a mother's quiet love and a boy's loud rebellion. And at the center of it all, one man who's spent decades listening before judging. If you believe in real consequences and justice that heals instead of just punishes, stay with us. And if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button. Stories like this matter. They remind us who we are and who we're still becoming. Jake Morrison was the kind of kid who thought the world owed him something. 16 years old, healthy, smart, and utterly convinced that respect should be handed to him like a free sample not earned. His mother Linda knew a different world. She raised Jake alone after his father left when he was 2. No support checks, no weekends off, just late nights, long shifts, and the constant ache of wondering if she was doing enough. Like many single mothers, she never had the luxury of rest. Rent didn't wait. Bills didn't blink. Still, she kept going. For Jake. Every morning, she'd return from her 3rd shift just in time to pack his lunch. She often watched him sleep headphones in, unaware of her swollen feet and burning eyes. And every evening, she'd head out again, leaving a note on the fridge. "Be safe. I love you." Jake never read them. Instead, he lived like someone untouchable. He had a phone better than most adults, a closet of expensive clothes he didn't pay for. And somehow he believed all this comfort had come from nowhere. One night, while Linda was at work cleaning hotel rooms, Jake took her car. No license, no permission. He invited 2 friends, cranked up the music, and started a live stream on social media. Rolling in my mom's whip, he laughed to the camera, swerving past red lights. She won't even notice. But someone did. A police cruiser spotted the car speeding through a residential area. The lights went on. Jake didn't stop. Instead, he pressed harder on the gas, laughing louder, thrilled by the chase. His friends egged him on. It wasn't just reckless, it was dangerous. Children lived on that street. Elderly neighbors walked there after dinner. Jake didn't see people. He saw props for his performance. Eventually, he pulled over, arrested without resistance. He thought it was funny, until the handcuffs clicked. Linda was called at 2:13 a.m. She still had 2 hours left on her shift. When she arrived at the precinct, she didn't ask why. She just asked if he was hurt. That's the thing about a single mother. Her first instinct is always protection, even when it's undeserved. The officers told her Jake would be required to appear before Judge Caprio. Not just any judge, the Judge Caprio. Known for his compassion, but also for demanding accountability. Jake didn't care. "He's just some old guy," he said. Linda didn't sleep that night. She folded Jake's clothes, prepared his breakfast, and quietly ironed the only clean shirt she had left for court. Her hands trembled, but she said nothing. Jake slept until noon. To him, it was just another appointment, just another adult to out-talk. What could a courtroom possibly teach him? But for Linda, it was a last hope. Not for punishment, but for a wake-up call. For real consequences. For anyone to show her son what she no longer could. And so on a cloudy Monday morning, mother and son walked into the courtroom. One wore exhaustion, the other wore arrogance. Neither knew that by noon, everything would change. The courtroom was quiet when Jake took his seat, too quiet for someone like him. He didn't seem to notice. He slouched in the defendant's chair, one leg crossed lazily over the other, eyes scanning the room like he was bored already. He didn't even look at his mother. Judge Caprio entered calm as always. His presence had a way of softening a room or sharpening it. That day it did both. He began, as he always does, by asking gently, "Good morning. Tell me what brings you here." Jake grinned. "Got pulled over for going fast, I guess." The judge blinked. "You guess?" Jake shrugged. "They said I was speeding." "I don't know. I was just driving around." Courtroom justice isn't about theatrics, but this felt like one. Jake acted as if he were above it all, like this was beneath him. He never mentioned the live stream, never mentioned the police chase. Then the judge asked, "Who owns the car?" "My mom," Jake said flatly. "Is she here today?" Jake nodded vaguely over his shoulder. "Yeah, she came." Only then did Judge Caprio turn to look at Linda Morrison. She stood slowly, clutching her purse with both hands. "How are you today, ma'am?" "I'm fine, sir," she whispered. "Would you like to say something about this incident?" She hesitated, then said quietly, "I was working when it happened. I got the call in the middle of my shift. I didn't know he took the car." Her voice shook, not from anger, but from weariness. Jake scoffed. "You're always working. That's why I do what I want." The room froze. Even Judge Caprio raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me." Jake leaned back. "If she actually paid attention, maybe I wouldn't be in trouble. She's never home." It wasn't just arrogance, it was cruelty. The kind of cruelty only an ungrateful son can deliver, sharpened by years of silent sacrifice he never once acknowledged. Linda's eyes welled. She didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She just sat down, shoulders collapsing inward as if she'd finally heard her own exhaustion out loud. The audience murmured. A bailiff shifted uncomfortably. Even those who had never met Linda felt the sting of that moment. Judge Caprio didn't yell. He didn't scold. He just looked at Jake for a long, heavy moment. The silence was louder than anything. "Do you think," the judge asked softly, "that this woman owes you her presence after all she's given?" Jake didn't answer. "Do you know what she does for you? 3 jobs, no complaints. You think absence is neglect. But have you ever asked her why she's not home?" Jake fidgeted. For the first time, he seemed unsure. "She's not working for herself," the judge continued. "She's working for you, so that you can sit in that chair with shoes more expensive than her monthly paycheck. And you call that love not enough." The courtroom wasn't watching a trial anymore. They were watching a turning point, one that every ungrateful son faces sooner or later the moment they realize sacrifice is invisible until it's no longer available. And Judge Caprio had just flipped the mirror. The room held its breath. For a moment, you could hear the sound of a tissue crumpling in Linda's hand. Even Jake stopped fidgeting. His smirk was gone, replaced by something less familiar discomfort. That's when Judge Caprio leaned forward. "Jake," he said quietly, "can you tell me the last hot meal you ate?" Jake blinked. I don't know. Last night, I guess." "Who paid for it?" Silence. "What about the clothes you're wearing today? Who bought those?" Jake glanced down. "My mom." "And the phone in your pocket, the one you use to live stream your crime, who pays that bill every month?" Jake didn't speak. The courtroom justice unfolding wasn't harsh, it was surgical. Judge Caprio wasn't trying to break the boy. He was trying to reach the human inside the performance. "You called your mother never there," the judge continued. "Let me tell you where she is." He turned to Linda. "Ma'am, what time did your shift start this morning?" 4 a.m., she said, voice barely audible. "And when will it end?" "I go back in 2 hours. I finish at 10 tonight." There it was. The weight of truth, heavy, undeniable. Jake shifted in his chair. Then the judge did something unexpected. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't issue a fine. He offered a sentence Jake never saw coming. "You will spend 300 hours working alongside your mother," Judge Caprio said. Jake blinked. "What?" "You will join her. Every shift, every job, for the next 2 months. You will wake when she wakes, sleep when she sleeps, carry what she carries. No shortcuts, no excuses." "That's crazy," Jake muttered. "No," said the judge, still calm. "Real consequences are not always jail or money. Sometimes they are mirrors. You need to see the life you so casually dismissed." The audience stirred. "And when you're done," Judge Caprio added, "you will write a reflection. 1 page every day. What you saw, what you learned, what it felt like to walk in her shoes." Jake tried to protest. "I didn't think it was that serious." The judge looked straight at him. "That's the problem." He paused, then softened. "This isn't about punishment, Jake. It's about recovery. For you, for your mother, for the broken bond between you." Linda was crying now quietly, but without shame. The courtroom watched something rare, a mother being heard. A judge choosing transformation over humiliation. A young man beginning to wake up. Jake didn't say thank you, not yet. But for the first time all day, he didn't look above anyone. He looked level. By court order, Jake Morrison now woke up at 3:45 a.m., 6 days a week. He wore a name tag, pushed mop buckets, stood behind a coffee counter, folded towels at the nursing home. He carried crates, stocked shelves, scrubbed tiles. And next to him every hour was his mother. Linda never said "I told you so." She didn't need to. Jake stopped rolling his eyes by day 3. By week 2, he started packing their lunches. By week 3, he was reminding her to take breaks. Pain, humility, and silence had done what shouting never could. Then came the return date. He stood again before Judge Caprio, same courtroom but a different boy. His shoulders straighter, his voice quieter, his eyes clearer. "Mr. Morrison," the judge said, "tell me what you've learned." Jake pulled a few folded pages from his pocket. His hands trembled slightly. Then he read, "My mom is a superhero disguised as a tired woman. She wakes up when the world is dark so I could live in light. I didn't see it until I had to walk where she walks. Justice isn't always about guilt. Sometimes it's about gratitude." The courtroom was still. Even the bailiff nodded. Judge Caprio leaned back. "Well said." Then came the final moment, the true verdict. "I'm not sentencing you further," he said. "You've served the most important time with truth." He turned to Linda. "And you, ma'am, have served more than enough." Tears rolled down her cheeks. Jake looked at his mom. This time really looked. He whispered, "I'm sorry." It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And that's what courtroom justice should be. Not revenge, but revelation. Real consequences aren't always cold. They can be warm, hard, and healing. They can break you open so something better can grow. Judge Caprio didn't just rule from the bench that day. He rewrote a life. 6 months later, Jake Morrison returned to the courtroom, not as a defendant, but as a volunteer. He now worked weekends at the very nursing home where his mother still picked up night shifts, not by court order, but by choice. He'd started helping younger kids at a youth program down the street. No live streams, no smirks, just quiet effort. When he entered the room this time, Linda was already there, waiting on the bench, not gripping her purse, but holding her son's college application. A boy who once called her a failure was now applying to become a physical therapist. He said he wanted to help people who work with their hands and feet all day like she did. Judge Caprio looked at him with a soft smile. "I see growth," he said. "That's all justice ever hopes for." Jake didn't say much. But when asked if he had anything to add, he turned to the judge and said, "You didn't punish me. You made me pay attention." That day, the courtroom wasn't a place of shame. It was a place of grace. And Linda, this quiet, hard-working single mother, was no longer invisible. She was seen honored and finally embraced by the justice system, not as a failed parent, but as the hero she'd always been. The story of Jake Morrison isn't rare. There are countless sons and daughters out there blind to the hands that raised them, deaf to the footsteps that work through the night for their comfort. Some like Jake aren't evil, just lost, entitled, misinformed. And sometimes all it takes is a judge brave enough to rewrite the sentence. If this story reminded you of someone or stirred something in your heart, share it. Let it reach another ungrateful son before it's too late. Let it honor a single mother who deserves more than a paycheck and a tired back. Let it remind us that courtroom justice isn't about fear. It's about truth. And real consequences aren't meant to break us, but to build something better. Because in a world of noise and neglect, a few hours of honest work, a mother's quiet strength, and a judge's patient wisdom can still change everything. If this story moved you, subscribe, share, reflect, and thank someone before the world has to do it for you.